Hey everybody, welcome back. Craig Schaup here with George Thomas, our film critic from the Akron Beacon Journal. George is here. He has been to the movie theater a couple of times this week. One time that he might not want to talk too much about, but George, how are you doing after your week at the movies?
I'm good, and I'm going to be seeing a lot more stuff in the theaters in the coming weeks. Apparently, the screenings are rolling in.
That is great. Well, I mean, it seems appropriate. We're in Oscar season. It seems like we should be getting these theatrical releases, so it's good to see that. I hope that you have a better time at the movies in the coming weeks than maybe what you had with our first movie. Regretting You is the latest from Josh Boone. I mean, he's had some movies where, he's kind of in that romantic comedy, young tween audiences with, a movie like The Fault in Our Stars. He did have The New Mutants, which was about as poorly received as a Marvel movie has ever been. But here he comes back with Regretting You, and it's kind of you've got a good cast on hand here with Dave Franco, Allison Williams. There's a lot to like about it, but you didn't like it, though, George. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I regret seeing it. That's what I regret.
I didn't want to spoil your word usage there in your review, so I wanted you to be able to say regretted seeing this.
Yeah, there is one twist in this film, okay? Just one. And it happens at the beginning, and from then on, you can predict every move that's gonna be made. And you mentioned a great cast. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But Josh Boone does them no good. The script does them no good. It's about, and I'm just gonna spoil the twist because
do it. No one's gonna see it anyway. Please spoil this movie. I don't think. Well, look, come on. Is anybody gonna go to the theaters this weekend to see this, other than maybe a handful of people?
Okay, it's this perfect little family where Scott Eastwood and Allison Williams are married, but Eastwood's best friend, played by Dave Franco, has always been in love with his wife. And the best friend dated his wife's sister at one point, comes back to town after years being away because he was actually in love with the sister. So he ran. Came back to town, though, in I think it's North Carolina, South Carolina, where he promptly returns. He gets her pregnant. They have a child together. Boom. Everything's blissful and happy. There's the teenage daughter played by McKenna Grace off to the side for the time being. She's best friend with her Aunt Jenny. And, of course, she butts head with her mom. Morgan, as teens are wont to do with their parents. And everything is peaches and creams with a dear old dad, right?
Yeah.
Well, through a convoluted set of circumstances, Aunt Jenny and Dad die in a tragic car accident.
Right.
They each die in a tragic car accident. The problem is they're in the same car together. And Aunt Jenny is supposed to have been at work, and dear old Dad was supposed to have been at a meeting. So what do you think they were doing?
Drama.
Much drama. Now, I can't poke too much fun because this is based on a novel. But at any rate, I think I wrote in my lead that this features the worst aspects of daytime soaps like All My Children, One Life to Live, the stuff I used to watch when I was in my 20s, and Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah.
It's that savage, and maybe it wouldn't have been had they concentrated on one specific element, but they have to throw in the teen romance with the daughter.
Sure.
I mentioned she was portrayed by McKenna Grace, and she has a thing for this artistic kid. She wants to be an actor. He wants to be a filmmaker. Kid's name is Miller, played by Mason Timms, who I like as an actor. He was good.
He was good in
How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. He was very good, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's that going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really? And in the process, you have these two movies dueling for screen time and schlockiness.
Yeah.
Because it's all cliche.
Mm-hmm.
It's all pretty ham-fisted. And, like I said, you can predict which way everything is going to go. There is, other than that first twist, there are a few surprises. And Boom tries to force too much. And one thing that really bothered me is, those moments in great teen comedies where there's one signature moment, and I wrote in my review, John Cusack with the boombox and say anything. He tries to force that.
Yeah.
And it just, the film feels inauthentic, contrived, derivative.
Yeah.
He does his performers no favor. And, I can't say it's the worst movie of the year, obviously, but it's probably the worst film I've seen all year.
Yeah. It just seems the description of it just seems like it's a really bad Hallmark movie.
There.
Or Lifetime movie or something.
There.
And then it also, because of this plot setup, and ever since I saw the trailer and felt like this is where the plot device was going to come in, where there was going to be this like nefarious relationship or whatever, and then the two maybe start coming together or whatever. This is a completely tonally different comparison, but it reminded me of the movie Brothers with Tobey Maguire. Now, this is a completely better movie, and Brothers is a way better movie, and it's a dramatic movie. It's a very tonally different movie. But in that movie, you have the sort of the romantic triangle between brothers and then Natalie Portman's character. But that was really well done, and it was it's really, you got to tiptoe around a plot device like that, because sometimes it can be really off-putting to the audience. And I think in a movie like this, where it kind of seems like it's off-putting because it's a weird, these guys were with each other when they shouldn't have been. Oh no, we know what that means. And then now these two are going to be like, oh, I've always loved you. And now we're going to kind of be weirdly together. It's just a weird device.
Oh, but I can top it.
Okay.
Within the movie, who's actually the father of Jonah's, his best friend's baby? Who's the dear old dad?
Wow. And this movie got made. Wow. I mean, good for them to get, you probably think that a movie like this gets greenlit because you got some star talent, you've got some box office appeal, maybe you've got a good young cast. And, like I said, Josh Boone's kind of done some of these types of, rom-com, if you will. This is probably a little bit less comedy as opposed to like contrived cliche, but it just seems like, how does a movie like this make it to a release, like a wide release in theaters?
Oh, maybe it's a play to try to get Gen Z in the theaters. I really don't know. But, Gen Z isn't coming into the theater to watch schlock that they can get in a bad streaming movie. That's just
right. Yeah, I think that's maybe the point right there, is it's just something that probably would have been better served for streaming or for straight to DVD if that still existed, which it kind of does, I guess. But, I know you gave this a C-. It seems pretty nice of you. Did you just have a good heart that day and you thought you can't go below the C-?
It's like, it's well made. So unless it's just purely crappily shot, what can I do?
Yeah. Okay.
I can give it a rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, but
I don't know if they make it rotten enough. I don't know if you can be rotten enough on this one. It just sounds like a complete disaster, and you just wonder why talented people got behind this in the first place. Both in front of and behind the camera. It just makes you wonder. But we switch gears a little bit. Obviously, we're knee deep in Oscar season. There's plenty of good opportunities here to watch some great movies. One Battle After Another, obviously, is one of them. Another Oscar hopeful is Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere. This is a big Oscar play, George, only because it is a biopic about one of our great American singer-songwriters. Bruce Springsteen gets the treatment this time around. Jeremy Allen White stars. Is this worthy of the inclusion into some of the best biopics? Do you see this tracking as an Oscar contender in multiple categories, or are we just kind of limping one out here this time around?
Neither. Now, I'm going to ask you something. What was the Elton John movie? Rocket Man?
Rocket Man.
Rocket Man was worthy. I don't recall it getting an Oscar
nomination. It did not, though, yeah. And Taron Egerton didn't get nominated, which was a surprise, because it was like,
that was worthy. This, some will argue for it, many won't. This is just a good slice of Bruce Springsteen's life kind of biopic.
Sure.
Okay. It's not expansive. It doesn't cover the beginning to present day, anything like that.
Right.
It's important in that it looks at Springsteen from a different perspective. Anybody who's been a fan of his, and mind you, I'll say it once again, Cleveland is one of the markets that broke him. Proud Clevelander here, WMMS, Kid Leo, Jeff and Flash, all those guys, Denny Sanders, all these guys. They're legends locally. They broke him locally, and it broke out nationwide. So there's a soft spot in my heart for him, but he's been known as the boss for close to 50 years, probably since Born to Run, if not before, the album Born to Run.
Yeah.
With the name The Boss comes this aura of invincibility, right?
Yeah.
And if anything, it takes the opportunity to scrape off that veneer of invincibility and look at a guy who was not at the top of his career yet, but entering a phase where the momentum was there to get to the top. And he'd just come off his biggest album with The River, had his first top 10 hit. Hard to believe considering Born to Run was such a classic song. But and the top 10 hit was Hungry Heart, which isn't a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And, the emphasis should have been striking, at least from the perspective of record executives, striking while the irons are hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Springsteen wasn't ready to go there. And it's said throughout the film that he was afraid of success. Well, as it turns out, he's the boss. He could crush it in the studio. He could crush it with the E Street Band.
Yeah.
But there is lingering self-doubt on a personal level, on a professional level. And the personal is intruding on the professional because he's got demons that he has to work out before he could become what he is today, which is pretty much a global icon. I mean, you talk about all the greats of the past 50 years. I mean, back in the 80s, there was Michael Jackson, there was Prince, there was Bruce freaking Springsteen.
Right.
That was a holy trinity when I was high school, early 20s.
Right.
And, I remember seeing him at the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, the summer of 85, with 71,800 of my closest friends. And he put on a heck of a marathon show for those for which he was known for. But you never expect that somebody who does shows like that, like I saw him a second time at what's now Rocket Arena, would have those fears, those insecurities, which came from, and with a lot of males, they talk about mommy issues. They're for some males, they're daddy issues. And If you don't deal with them, they can be debilitating. I will tell you point blank. I've been in and out of therapy over the years. I've dealt with mommy issues. I've dealt with daddy issues. And if you don't deal with them, they can be paralyzing. And it explores that aspect of his life, and it does so well. And what comes out of it is the album Nebraska, which is probably one of his darkest works. It's stripped down acoustic. He recorded it on a cassette and had it remastered. And he was dedicated, almost obsessive, to getting this done his way. It freaked the record company out, yada, yada, yada. But in the process of doing Nebraska, he was also pouring out other songs, which eventually became Born in the USA. Yeah. And you're how old, if you don't mind?
I'm 41.
Okay, so you were born in
84.
80? Yeah, dude. No, you don't remember.
I
don't remember what Born in the USA was like when Dancing in the Dirt came out as the first single. Right.
Yeah.
And an unknown Courtney Cox gets on the stage in the video and is dancing with Bruce Springsteen. That song, that album, put him in that Prince, Michael Jackson conversation, and he hasn't left. Matter of fact, he's of the three, he's the one still standing.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to be callous by that, but it deals with all of that, and it's a heady subject, and it's treated by writer-director Scott Cooper with the seriousness and the delicacy that it needed. And in this instance, Jeremy Allen White is probably the perfect choice to portray him, given, and I hate to say it's because of the bear, but you see a little of the bear in the portrayal. And he's got Springsteen's mannerisms and everything. Got him down. It's scary.
Yeah.
But it's just, if you're going in and expecting this raucous celebration of Bruce Springsteen's rock and roll, don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you point blank, you can go into 5 minutes and see an excellent clip of the final show on the River Tour allegedly from Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati, where he does Born to Run. But that's going to be it. Oh, there is a studio version, a clip of them doing Born in the USA in studio where he rips it up. But it's mainly, don't go in expecting that. You're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
If you're really ready for a sober rumination on mental health from an artist's perspective, this is a great look at somebody who was obviously willing to open up about his situation.
Yeah.
Because the script is based on a book.
Right. Well, I think that's probably what you get the best of biopics like these, where they're not trying to tell someone's life story and they really centralize and focus on a certain period of time. But then it's also like, you don't want to be mean-spirited with it, but you also don't want to, gloss over some of the struggles or make it mostly just a celebratory, kind of clip, because you can do that in a half-hour special or whatever, honoring, that person's life. So I think it's, that's when biopics are at their best, is when they're really in some ways dressing down their subject to the nuts and bolts of everything and showing some of those scars and calluses, because that's part of their life. And I think that it makes for better character development, even though this is a real person that you're developing, but this is a three-dimensional character that you want to develop on screen. And I think that's kind of the best way to do it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of music biopics. I mean, they're not bad by any means, but obviously I was not a fan of Bohemian Rhapsody, and I will never be a fan of that movie. But, I think, Scott Cooper seems like this is kind of in his wheelhouse. He debuted with Crazy Heart way back in like 2009. So I think it's you're putting it in good hands with that. It may not ascend to the the top of the top Oscar level, like maybe A Complete Unknown did last year, where it just had a really good response, and you've got Chalamet and you've got multiple Oscar nominations, and, you know, maybe this falls short of it, but that's not the end of the world. I you know, like you said in your review, I think Jeremy Allen White probably is more or less solidified in that top 5, or at least, you know, has that chance of being an Oscar nominee for Best Actor. But this is you know, you've got a movie that I'm interested to see what the box office looks like, because, you know, I think that this is definitely going to be a movie for people of a certain age, and maybe the ones that have disposable income that actually can afford to go to the movies consistently. And maybe you're not really seeing a lot of movies for those audiences that are released these days.
I'll put it to you this way. They held a screening, smart move on the PR agency's part, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum last night.
Okay.
There is it's not a big theater. It's the Foster Theater. I don't know if you've ever been in there. I think it seats about 200, 250. But they had the screening there. The audience was definitely closer to even beyond my age. It's probably boomers. I'm not a boomer. Right. But I mentioned a couple names early. There were a couple legends from Cleveland radio. John Gorman, who was instrumental in the transformation of WMMS back in the 70s, and the aforementioned Denny Sanders. I recognized their names. I didn't recognize them.
Yeah.
So that's the type of audience you're going to get. I mean, people who technically, I grew up on MMS and rock and roll and all that, but it was post 70s MMS. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were still at the height, but they were slowly descending.
Right.
And it's gonna locally here, it's gonna get that audience, I think.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what he does from now on. Bruce Springsteen is going to be able to sell out a tour.
Oh yeah, right.
And Cleveland's always going to show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see if this is, you know, it's not a super competitive week, although who knows, maybe Regretting You will win the box office. But yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity, I think, for a movie where, you know, and it's funny because I don't know that, and I think Searchlight had A Complete Unknown last year, and they kind of limped it out at the end of the year in a limited release, and it was kind of a weird, it's kind of a strange theatrical run. And then here, this is like taking the exact opposite approach with, you know, obviously Springsteen's in the title, so people aren't going to be unaware of it now, but you know, you're getting an October release, you're getting a wide theatrical release, or at least a wider theatrical release. So, you know, I think that maybe there's some hope that a movie like this is going to score that audience that usually doesn't go to the theater, but that's only because they don't care about, you know, exploding aliens and, you know, superheroes flying across the screen all the time.
Or bad teen romances.
Yeah. I don't know that the boomer audiences is, you know, going to give a second thought to Regretting You, but you never know. Maybe they'll get dragged to that too in a double feature with the significant other.
Yeah, I don't. I ain't worried about that one.
Yeah. Well, I know you gave it a B, and I also know too that there's a lot of streaming out there. I know that you're going to have a streaming column as well, but talk a little bit about I know Lazarus is out there, but talk a little bit about some of the shows and series that you're looking at this week for your streaming column.
Did you peek at that?
I might have. Don't tell anybody. Shush. But yeah, I you know, a little birdie told me that you have a little bit of streaming going on right now. So tell us a little bit about some of the streaming that you're watching.
You know what? It's Harlan Coben's Lazarus. Now, Harlan Coben is an author I've never heard of, believe it.
Okay.
I don't know if you have. He writes mysteries. Apparently, he sold a gazillion books. Okay, it's closer to 82 million. New York Times bestseller list. Blah blah. He's on that Michael Connelly level.
Okay.
The guy who did Bosch.
Yeah.
Bosch books and the Lincoln Lawyer books. he's apparently on that level. And I've not read anything he's done. I can't recall any other series any of his books that have been adapted before. But this isn't even based on a book. It's based on an original concept, and let's just call British crime thrillers series-wise their own genre now, because across streaming platforms, I can't think of any that are objectively bad. They've all been pretty much interesting. And even though Coben is an American author, this is a British series.
Yeah.
And it stars Scott Claflin. Is it?
Sam Claflin.
Sam Claflin. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have remembered that, considering I wrote my review 3 hours ago. As a forensic psychiatrist, and the series blends the supernatural, kind of, and the emotional turmoil he's in over the death of his father. And it's funny, and it's very Dickensian, and its conceit in dealing with his father's death, and his father basically coming back and directing him where to go to solve cold case murders, I guess. But it's not that cut and dry. I mean, it's very surrealistic. And I got through 5 or 6 episodes today. I was hooked from episode 2. I will say that. It took to episode 2.
Okay.
And from then on, it's like, okay. And I'm saving episode 6, the final episode, for a treat. That's the best way to put it. Another thing I love about it, Bill Nighy plays his deceased dad, and Bill Nighy is Bill Nighy.
He's always great. Yeah,
he's a fantastic British character actor, and he's surly as hell in this series. So it's thoroughly enjoyable.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, is there anything else streaming wise, maybe that you've seen lately, or you've caught up, or maybe that's coming up that you're wanting people to go watch?
Let's see. Sniper Cell Death Watch is okay. Here it is. Let's delve into this little issues here. Streaming platform Netflix. Where do they turn to for the series finale of Stranger Things? This movie has been a phenomenon for them since its inception.
Yeah.
And the final episode is going to play in theaters so they can make a quick buck. It sounds cynical. It probably isn't, because allegedly they've invested $500 million in the final series, which is the final season, which is supposed to be very cinematic. And we'll see, but that I found that interesting today.
Wasn't there rumor that like each episode's going to be like an hour and a half at least, or something like that? Like it's cinematic in the sense of length of runtime too, right?
From the way they break it down, there are 3 volumes, and then the series finale. Let me reference my column here real quick. I still have it up. Volume 3. Okay, there are 3 volumes, and the series finale. So that tracks, and each volume is 3 episodes. So you're probably talking 3 individual movies.
Yeah.
If they were combined, 2.5 to 3 hours would be my guess.
Do you think they're underselling it, though, with only 350 theaters? Like, if you're going to do that, I mean, I know there's an expense to distribution, but, like, if you're going to go that route for the finale, why wouldn't you, like, put up or shut up with it then, right? I mean, 350 theaters is kind of a drop in the bucket.
You're absolutely right. I can only surmise that they don't want to tick off the Netflix audience with a mass release. I mean, let's say if they put it in 2,500 theaters or in 2,500 screens, a lot of people like me are gonna say cash grab, cash grab.
Yeah.
And I pretty much wrote, it's kind of a cash grab.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they're trying to recoup some of the investment some way. And if you can pull 40 to 50 million over the course of 2 days that are usually the Christmas or the New Year's Eve weekend or whatever that window is. I'm not sure if it's on a weekend or not this year. Isn't typically a large movie going day.
Right.
And from that perspective, maybe they could have done a significant number more screens. By the same token, maybe they couldn't get many more because it is some holiday movie season. We don't know what's going to hit. We don't know what's going to still be in theaters. So, they're pretty much damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, I mean, Avatar obviously will be the sort of dominant play. Although you never know. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued to see what Avatar does at the box office this year. But do you think that a movie a cinematic experience with only 350 screens could make like 40 to 50 million? I mean, that's a lot of money per theater. Obviously, it'll be popular, but if you're only going 350 or, so many screens, like it's going to be limited, I think, in the box office.
Premium ticket prices.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it depends. What is the entity in Cinemark? I don't even know if they're exclusive to Cinemark.
The Fathom Events stuff?
Fathom Events, yes.
Yeah.
Those are premium ticket prices.
They are.
And those are normally one-offs over each day. Now, what if they're doing
multiple
4 or 5 showings a day over the course of 2 days? And
right.
Then at premium prices, sure, you can make that kind of bank.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I think look, I know we've talked about it before. It's kind of like the new wave for streaming to try to recoup a little bit. You get the theatrical releases from movies because you want to be able to qualify for the Academy Awards. But, I hope that maybe this will inspire, and maybe Stranger Things is just that kind of a phenomenon that you wouldn't do this for. Like HBO is not going to put Task in theaters, for instance, even though it's been well received and everything. It's just not
a Game of Thrones movie, sure.
Right, exactly, yeah, something like that. But yeah, so I mean, it'd be nice to kind of see them work the and I know that they're sort of. I think they announced a partnership, did they not? Did Netflix announce like a partnership with theatrical outside of? Not just Stranger Things, but wasn't there? I thought I saw something come across the Twitter line about or X about maybe them partnering up with theatrical a little bit more.
If it happened, I missed it. I've been. It's not impossible for me to have missed it because I've been super busy.
Yeah, me too. But I thought I saw it, and maybe it was just this. Yeah, I think it was just this one with the striking of the deal with Stranger Things. So. Never mind. I was thinking that maybe we'd get a little bit more theatrical run for movies like Frankenstein, for instance, which are probably going to get a very, very limited theatrical run. And also not that, but just limited screen theatrical run where you're probably just New York, LA, Chicago, Miami kind of places where you're not going to be able to get that opportunity to watch. And it's sad because you want to see Guillermo del Toro's movies, but you want to see them on the big screen because that's what they're meant for. And you're not going to because the Netflix money train is just so big for him or Scorsese working with either Netflix or Apple to just be like, well, I'd rather take the money and see, and they can do whatever they want. But I wonder, not that every movie is going to be like this, but Apple partnered with Warner Brothers for F1. It did well at the box office. I'm sure Apple was pleased. I'm sure Warner Brothers got their cut. Obviously, a Frankenstein or The Irishman or Killers of the Flower Moon are not necessarily box office gold, so you wouldn't expect them to do that well. But Do you think that maybe getting these partnership release deals and the distribution that would maybe inspire Netflix or Apple to at least entertain that conversation? Because I haven't heard, anything about, HBO Max, like saying, well, we better have access to F1 because we did the distribution. They just, they got their cut of the profits, and I'm sure they're okay with knowing that F1 will always be only on Apple or something moving forward. Do you think that we could see more of that?
It's possible, but also knowing Warner Brothers, I don't think there was a huge risk for them there. So they were content to take the money and run.
Yeah. Well, they might be owned by Apple in a few months anyway, right? Who knows?
That's what I wouldn't be too sad about if that's going to happen. Because I think they at least have respect for the content. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, who knows what, there's already like the rumor mills are already been like, if Paramount purchases Warner Brothers, then, James Gunn DC universe will automatically be done or something like that. I mean, should people that enjoyed Superman and maybe, Creature Commandos and Peacemaker, do you think that they'll probably... you think they're sweating right now, thinking that maybe James Gunn could be replaced all of a sudden if Warner Brothers is sold?
What the heck would they replace James Gunn with?
I don't know. Everybody just look. Everybody, there are still people that are Zack Snyder fans out there, and they are still Zack Snyder, DCEU, whatever you want to call that universe that he created. The movies were not good, but they made money. Like, they were profitable, even if they weren't very good. And there is still a bunch of people out there saying that Superman did not make Warner Brothers money, which I find it hard to believe, because there's also still people out there that are dogging one battle after another for not being profitable, even though it's done pretty well, I would say, given it's rated R, rated R movie. But I don't know. I mean, someone could say, well, let's restore the Snyderverse because there's this like cult population that's probably bigger than a cult that just, for whatever reason, defends those movies and defends Snyder's vision.
But here's the thing about cults in pop culture. They always scream the loudest, and they're exactly what we call them, cults. They're, with all due respect, they're generally minorities. If they weren't minorities, guess what? The Snyderverse would still be here. Period.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
Because they may have, and I'm not even sure how much of a profit those movies turned.
Aquaman made over $1 billion, George. Aquaman
made over $1 billion.
The first Aquaman, I'm telling you, you would be stunned.
You're talking pure profit.
It made $1 billion at the box office, which meant it turned a profit. I mean, let's face it. I don't think they were investing $800-900 million into the Aquaman production / advertising campaign.
Still, how much money was invested in that? I mean,
yeah, I get it. I guess the idea is that, as bad as like the Snyder Batman and Superman movies were, everybody's going to say Man of Steel was like a $700-800 million box office take. I think Batman versus Superman was over 800 million. So, there's going to be that section of people that says, yeah, Gunn's films are better, but the studio wants to make money before they even care about making a good Superman movie. They want to make sure they can make a profit. Otherwise, why are they making a Superman movie anymore?
Fair enough.
I don't agree with it. I would rather have James Gunn's Superman. And I know you were a fan of Man of Steel, but I think we could probably agree that Superman was better than Man of Steel, I would say, in my opinion. It's a better movie, but it did make a ton of money. I think it probably broke even, and especially when you're talking about video on demand purchases, merchandise, all that kind of stuff that adds into every little dollar that comes to it. But if Warner Brothers is like, yeah, James Gunn's always made some good movies, but his Suicide Squad was way better than the other Suicide Squad, but it didn't make any money. You can only piggyback off of the Guardians movies so many times before you're like, well, now you need to make a bigger hit, in this DC universe. Otherwise, we're going to go back to the schlock making of Zack Snyder, because we know that he'll come in under budget and he'll make us a little bit of money.
Yeah. Can we talk about something else?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what you have coming up in the next coming weeks here. I know there's some Oscar contenders on the docket coming up. What do you have?
Let's see. Next week, I'm still out on whether I'm going to see Begonia.
Begonia, yeah.
Next week, I didn't put it in my calendar. What the heck? Hold on. Nuremberg, I see next week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, next week is Nuremberg.
Okay.
We can't talk about it until close to the 7th. I don't know what the embargo is.
Yeah. Well, Russell Crowe, one of my favorites, Rami Malek, taking the screen here by storm with all that personality that he brings to the table. So I can't wait for that.
Why can't I find the stuff I put in my calendar? Now, this is embarrassing.
So you're unsure about Begonia because you don't want to see it, or you're unsure that you won't have a screening?
Oh, I have a screening.
Okay.
Other than Pretty Little Things, that last Yorgos movie they released.
Oh, Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah, was just a mitigated turnoff.
Yeah.
And upon reflection, I would. Yeah. I mean, it's, and I realize it preceded Pretty Little Things. I do.
Poor Things.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I realize it preceded that, but.
He's kind of one of those really divisive filmmakers, because when he hits, I think he hits pretty well, but then when he doesn't, it just kind of goes off the rails a little bit. And I guess the one thing that you can always say in his favor is that he's original, and that he's going to give you something that it's not a cookie cutter production like you see with a lot of these other movies that we get sequeled to death and prequeled and everything in between. But yeah, it's you always want to think like, well, you have at the very least you have Emma Stone in there, so you feel like there's some confidence to be had, because not that she's never picked a bad project to be in, but you just want to hope that she's not going to turn away. She's going to go in, dive head first into a movie that, Yorgos is making, but you also think that she's going to be mindful of the projects she's taking on too. But yeah, Kinds of Kindness was thought to be that, and it was not. It was definitely a movie that no one liked or saw really from Yorgos. And here we got Begonia, where again, it's another one of these weird movies where apparently these two conspiracy men kidnap Emma Stone's character, who's a CEO of a major company, convinced that she's an alien.
Yeah.
We were talking about it at work one day, and we thought there's a lot of talk about alien in it, because they think she's an alien. Are they going to have aliens in the movie? And better yet, if they do have this movie play out in a way, wouldn't it make sense to have Emma Stone actually be an alien? Right.
Yeah, I get it. You talk about being sequel to death. Well, I see of all times, 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Now you see me, now you don't, which is basically Now You See Me 3.
Yeah. which I've seen none of them. So
actually, the first one's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, they've always had a good cast, but I think I out magicianed myself when I saw the Prestige and the Illusionist years ago. I thought, yeah, we probably don't need any more. I mean, obviously those were two very good movies, but probably don't need any more magic inspired movies. But very good paycheck movie for a lot of those people. So kudos to them.
Well, yeah, but like I said, the first one, it was pure entertainment. I'm never gonna diss pure entertainment. It was escapism. It was fun. I got noticed a screening for Song Sung Blue, where it's basically Hugh Jackman singing Neil Diamond.
It's funny because that movie has like come out of nowhere. I don't know if you've seen, but on Gold Derby, it's gotten some like genuine Oscar consideration. Like people are feeling it like it could be an Oscar contender for at least maybe the acting. But it was a movie that I don't know that anybody knew was coming out until maybe like a few months ago. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is actually a real movie. And, Hugh Jackman is looking like Neil Diamond, and, Kate Hudson's in there. So maybe she can return some Almost Famous magic to this new movie. So it's kind of weird. Like this movie, at first, when you heard about it and you saw it, you kind of thought, whatever. But then now people are starting to put it in their Oscar predictions for certain, categories. So maybe it's going to be better than what you expect. But we'll definitely know in the coming weeks. And as always, you can read George at beaconjournal.com, and you can read his Regretting You review, where maybe I don't think you'll regret reading it because it's a fun read, but he's telling you, save your money. Do not go to that movie. Even if you're interested in a rom-com, there has to be something better to watch at home or whatever.
This is what streaming was invented for in its earliest days.
Yes, it does. It does seem that way. But George, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. We do hope we talk to you very soon, and we hope that you actually get to go to the movies and have a good time.
We'll see.